Alright, so Anthropic released their highly anticipated Claude 4 model just a few days ago. Everyone's very happy about it. There's some benchmarks, makes it very impressive. However, what I want to talk to you guys about today is behind the scenes, the notion that using Claude 4 can potentially lead you to jail. So this all started with this individual named Austin Allred, who is the founder of Gauntlet AI. I don't really know much about him. Quote tweeting and screenshotting this tweet that says, "Question for the Anthropic team, the team that made Claude 4, have you lost your minds?" Now in these tweets, which we'll go into in just a second, he's highlighting the screenshots of a man named Sam Bowman. And Sam is an individual who works on AI alignment and LLMs at Anthropic. And so Sam was tweeting about features about the Claude 4 release. And this is typically standard. If you worked on something that's a big release, you're excited about it, you want to talk about it, answer some questions on Twitter, wherever you're releasing it. However, some of these tweets that are screenshotted here by Austin kind of have the implication that Claude can potentially do things outside of just answering your prompts. So for example, in this tweet, Sam says, if it thinks you're doing something egregiously immoral, for example, like faking data in a pharmaceutical trial, it will use command line tools to contact the press, contact regulators, try to lock you out of the relevant systems, or all of the above. With another tweet that says, so far, we've only seen this in clear-cut cases of wrongdoing, but I could see it misfiring if Opus somehow winds up with a misleadingly pessimistic picture of how it's being used. And one more that says, with this kind of unusual but not super exotic prompting style, and unlimited access to tools, if the model sees you doing something egregiously evil, like marketing a drug based on fake data, it will try to use an email tool to whistle blow. Now, this has caused quite the stir in tech Twitter, with individuals like Austin and Theodore basically going at it in their DMs, discussing the implication that this is kind of something that happens regularly. Nothing out here is truly out of the ordinary. And some people even saying that this was a trial and this is not the typical use case of what will happen if you choose to use Claude 4. As you can see here against Sam Bowman, just to reemphasize, we only see Opus whistleblow if you system prompted to do something like act boldly in service of its values or take lots of initiative. This isn't the default behavior, but it's still possible to stumble into it when you're building a tool use agent. So I want to kind of cover this particular notion here, and not really about the fact that maybe using Claude 4, if you're doing something evil, it can take its own decision to basically snitch on you or contact authorities or whoever, depending on what you're doing. All right, so let's talk about an example here where we have this regular user using an LLM like it is today, right? We have a prompt, this could be a programming question, how to ask a girl out, etc., goes into the LLM and we get our output. And we each have these instances on our browsers, however you're using the LLM. And we kind of thought that this was secure in a sense that it won't leak, or the prompt that we give it is going to go to the LLM, but it's going to be owned by the company that owns the LLM, like Anthropic. So we are giving Anthropic our information, our data, for the convenience of using the LLM. However, no matter what we prompt, we typically have the expectation that we would receive our output. However, what if we look at the example with an evil user? So let's say we have a user who's trying to use the exact same thing of prompting the LLM, but they're doing very evil things. Now, I don't want to use any kind of outrageous examples, but let's say something that could harm someone, or someone that is trying to cover their tracks in a very, very evil way, right? They committed a crime and they need to be stopped, right? Do we have the expectation that this user can simply ask the LLM to give it an output that can help them get away with this crime or their act? Or is there a sense of moral judgment here that the LLM could intervene and stop and contact the authorities? Now, I want to take a step here and say I don't think this is kind of what's happening in Claude 4. I think I'm taking what Sam Bowman said here as truth, that it is a very, very specific feature that happens in extremely unique instances, and I don't think it's going to be the experience for everyday users. But I'm kind of thinking above the fold here, right? Do we have this expectation that if there is something evil happening, that the LLM could prevent the output from going back to the user and actually go and contact a third-party authority group, to stop them? Because what if this one motion can actually save a bunch of other users and lives and get this person stopped from committing further crimes? Now, I use this example very loosely and very general, but as we are more and more integrating LLMs with our daily lives, and I'm not just talking about simple prompts like programming, but just how we live life, what the best decision to make, how it can help us make our lives easier, it does get into this conversation that LLMs could potentially make decisions behind the scenes for the greater good based on what they deem that good to be. And so this discussion between good users, bad users, and what the LM can and can't do has really caused a divide on people on the internet. You can see here this individual Nick believes Claude for Opus is secretly evil, thinks it's kind of like this George Orwell 1984. It's going to collect your information. If it doesn't like something that you do, it will get you in jail. It's kind of like that big brother. Versus other people who are excited about Anthropic's new LLM and say what a time to be alive, or that's a banger, and it's a step forward in what LLMs can do to help us live much more meaningful and more convenient lives. And I also really like this one by Manifold. When will someone be jailed because of their AI snitched on them? August 31st, 2029. I think that's kind of optimistic. I think it's going to happen earlier. Like I said, I think if an LM detects you doing something bad, right? Like literally trying to ask it, how can you lure kids using Roblox? Like, I think you should be jailed like ASAP, right? Like, I know is this conversation about privacy. However, I do think like there's an extent that if you are going to be doing something that can harm the lives of a lot of people, you should be stopped, right? Your privacy should be kind of breached if you're going to use the internet for that convenience. That's my opinion. But that's a very, not black and white, very gray territory that I don't really want to get into right now. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and just kind of give you some more information on this fine Friday. You can see that if you want to read something, I really like the drama between Theodore and Oscar right now. It's a back and forth. It's really funny. I always kind of laugh when Theodore gets into dramas on Twitter, especially when Twitter's like barely working right now. I think that's even funnier. And yeah, the Claude 4 system prompt has been leaked. Another source here, you can go ahead and click this, and you can see that from Grok, you can see this is the allegedly the system prompt for Claude 4. So go ahead and use this if you want. That's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below. Enjoy your weekend. And yeah, are you guys using LLMs? Do you guys still like them? If not, what else are you using? Do you think it's getting too scary? Whatever it is, let me know. Comment, like, and subscribe. Do whatever it is. And yeah, peace.